pretty obsessed with values for a while. It's right up there with a piece of the process for getting clarity. Really understanding who we are and what we stand for always starts with our values. The way we show up as entrepreneurs and change makers, the way we interact, the way we figure out who our ideal niche is and who we serve, all of those things are centered around our values. And I want to spend like a couple of minutes telling you the big distinction in values that I think so many other coaches and programs ignore, like totally ignore. It's this idea that values, the values that are the most relevant for us as change makers, are two-way street values. And a lot of the times we look at these process for understanding our values is what's most important to us. The problem with that is they get confused with our goals, our means to a goal, what we value, right? They show up in there, and we bring in behaviors, we bring in all of these things from this giant list, right? And we have no way to understand how these things really show up and how we're going to make an impact on the world, who we're going to serve, and how we're going to do it, right? So let's say you end up with a list of like 10 words that that we're calling your values, right? It doesn't allow you to prioritize. It doesn't allow you to figure out what your niche looks like and what they value and then what they believe. So early on, I realized that we have one-way street values and we have two-way street values, and that it's so critical for us as entrepreneurs to build our business around what I call two-way street values. So what's the difference between a one-way street value and a two-way street value? And how do we distinguish them from goals or the means to a goal? Okay, so first things first is a one-way street value are values that are like just important to me, right? It's important to me to value, let's say, the beauty of my environment, right? It's important to me that my space reflect my mood, right? Let's say it's important to me to surround myself with nature, right? That beauty, that life, that beauty is important to me for the way that I feel, for for my mood. It's important to me personally. Okay, how does that differ from a two-way street value? A two-way street value is a value that I not only hold myself accountable to, and accountable is an interesting word, right? So if I'm living my values, right, I'm behaving in a way that allows my values to show up around me, right? So that means if I go back to my example of surrounding myself with beauty, it means that I'm giving myself space every day to sit outside. It means that I design my spaces around me to allow myself to feel that beauty and experience that, right? So that's living that value. If we take a two-way street value, I not only hold myself accountable to that value, but I hold you accountable to that value. We like, trust, and respect people who share our top two-way street values. So that means, right, that when I have a value that's a two-way street value, I like, trust, and respect you if you show me that you value that too. Not just say it, you have to show me, right? It shows up in your behavior. So, for instance, my very top value is accountability. And I like, trust, and respect people who show me in their behavior that they value accountability too. So that means they own up to their mistakes. They show up on time, or if they can't show up on time, they take accountability for it. It means that, when something goes south, they try to fix it. They don't blame somebody else. They don't blame themselves. They take accountability and they do something about it, right? So that's a two-way street value. And in fact, we often hold other people accountable to those two-way street values more than we even hold ourselves accountable to them. And so when we look at two-way street values, those top two-way street values, we have a big window into the people that we're going to serve. And the reason that that's so important is because our niche always shares our top two-way street values with us. They don't have to align perfectly, but those values are the biggest window into the people that you're going to serve. They value what we value. They believe what we believe. And when we can understand our top values, our top two-way street values, because those are the values that we're going to share with our niche. And they're going to inform us of the big beliefs that we have that our niche, the people that we're going to serve, also share. So two-way street values, these are the values that allow us to identify the people that we most like, trust, and respect. And conversely, those who we dislike, distrust, and disrespect. So when we're thinking of our values and you're looking at that big list as an entrepreneur, as a potential change maker, we want to look at the values that inform us of the shared connection that we have with other people, the people that are most aligned to who we want to serve. When we go to that list too, I mentioned that we want to distinguish between behaviors and those and goals, right? That's where it gets a little bit, you have to do a little bit of finagling here, right? You're going to want to group things together and say, okay, so which one of these are behaviors that we show when we want to demonstrate one of these as a value? Which one is kind of the umbrella, and which other words show up as behaviors that prove to me that you live that value? And remember, it's easiest to think about these values in terms of other people. What's most important to me when I think about these values showing up in the people around me in my life, in famous people that I know, current or in history that I truly respect, and those I don't. What's missing? What value is missing from that person that lends to me really not liking them and completely disrespecting them? So that's an example, or I should say, that's my kind of lesson today on values and the importance of a two-way street value. So when you're looking at that list, I want you to think, what's most important to me in my relationships with other people? Because it's in those relationships with other people and that understanding of those two-way street values that you're going to start to build your business in a really, really impactful way.